Get 5 coffins ready.
Hey there guys, today we're taking a look at the Crew Motorfest. So I was lucky enough to get into the closed beta. As you expect, I'm kind of built different. Ubisoft knows this, so they let me into the beta. But I also have like 2 quintillion hours, I think, around there in the Crew 2. I made a video about the Crew 2 a while back versus Forza Horizon 4, going all the way back then, huh? I'm a sucker for the Crew 2. I think it was a way more fun cooperative experience over Forza Horizon for sure. I think it's a lot more fun in general. I think the grind's a lot better. Yeah, I think the general progression is better in the Crew 2, all those good things and stuff. So what's Motorfest? Motorfest is the Crew 2, but they're actually trying this time, supposedly. So let's just hop into all the things I noticed in the closed beta. This isn't the most in-depth thing in the world. This isn't going to be 101 facts you need to know about the Crew Motorfest. This is just my takeaway from the experience and just some raw gameplay along with it. Yeah, that's English. All right, so let's touch on the visuals real quick. So it seems like the TAA is broken right now, and you cannot turn it off. So I don't know if you'll be able to tell as we go through this, but a lot of things are muddled up, and it looks like some objects are like shaking, and there's like really bad TAA ghosting, and like you look at the HUD of your car, like the rev counter and stuff like that, it's all like shaking and distorted. That's obviously a very big bug, and obviously they're going to look into that. This is a beta, so I mean, I'm sure it's going to be fixed by the time the game comes out. Looks awful though. Gotta say, it looks awful, and you cannot turn off TAA in this game, and you cannot put it above 60 FPS. I'm sure you can edit a config file somewhere along the ways, and then you'll be able to have it over 60 FPS. But it is locked to either 60 or 30 FPS currently. These are the limitations of this older engine. It's very clearly the same engine as Crew 2. So as for the other visuals, the game looks better during the daytime. That was definitely the Crew 2's biggest flaw, was it looked awful in the daytime because something was off about the lighting. The lighting was just flat. The colors weren't very colorful. Like, it had a very earthy color palette. It was very meh looking. This looks better. There's a lot more vegetation. The light in general is brighter. That's always a plus, I can see. So at the end of the day, yes, the game looks better. Yes, the game runs fine, but it's mostly because it's only limited to 60 FPS. I would say overall the visual fidelity is better, but distant objects like mountains and stuff still looks worse. But you can tell they're trying to hide some of those distant objects now because they know that like a pastel mountain in the distance is not a good look. So yeah, visuals are better, but not that much better. And yeah, dude, those player models, ooh, those player models are so bad. But at least the audio is improved across the board. I mean, the Crew has always had decent audio. It was just the engines always sounded off. They just never sounded quite like a real engine. Now we're getting to a point where they really do sound like engines, finally. And I would say it's on par with Forza Horizon, in some places better, in some places worse. But for the most part, yes, they sound like engines now. Good. Thank you, God. Speaking of which, the driving. You press the left stick and the car moves. Dude! No way! Yeah, the biggest flaw in the Crew 2 for me, number one thing that made me stop grinding it, the driving felt like you were paddling a boat in like an ocean full of oil. Like, it was just awful. It didn't feel like you were actually driving a car. It felt like there was body roll simulation and no other type of simulation going on in that driving. Obviously, I'm not calling the Crew a sim, obviously, but I'm saying like the physics, it didn't feel like anything was going on other than if you go too fast, you understeer. That's the only thing that cars ever do, is they understeer. Cars just understeer. There's no such thing as oversteer. But now the car is actually, like, you turn the wheel and the front of the car moves. It's not the entire car just swashing over to the side or something. It just, the Crew 2 just felt awful. But now you can actually turn the car in, and it turns, and if you turn in too fast, you're going to oversteer. There's oversteer in the Crew now. Thank you, God. And it's a lot of fun. I think this driving is infinitely better, and this is the biggest improvement so far, and I'm very, very happy about it. So let's talk about progression. It seems like it's going to be the same thing as the Crew 2, where it's like you get this story, quote unquote, and you're going from racing type and or division to racing type and or division, and you've got someone gabbing in your ear about how this is the craziest thing you've ever seen in your life. Rally Raid was started in the 1980s by John Goodman, something like that. And it's, it's a little more it seems like they're trying. Like, it's a little more high budget. They got a lot more voice actors going on. They got a lot more actual words being said, not just like white noise in the background like in The Crew 2. Like, they're obviously trying a little more here, but it's a lot of characters you don't care about who just don't stop talking, basically. It's a lot like Forza Horizon in that regard, and it's annoying. So I do think it's going to be the same thing again, as I just mentioned. It's going to be, you're going between divisions and racing types. It's going to be very hand-holdy until one day it isn't. You run out of new events to do, and you're not getting any more cutscenes. You're not getting any more audio in the background of your races, and you're just going back and replaying the same races over and over to flush out your garage. So I think it's going to be the same exact thing. It's just going to be a little more high effort this time, it feels like. So that's a plus. I mean, I guess I'll take that, but It's seeming like we're going to be turning off the voices again. The car list seems good too. It was actually, it's just hilarious watching Forza Horizon be like 10 times bigger than this game. And, this goes for Project Cars 3 as well. Why do these smaller racing games just have all the good cars that we want? So that should tell you what I think about this. I think the car list looks pretty great. Obviously, it's not the most filled car list ever, especially when it comes to like classic cars and stuff like that. They could probably do with a few more, but at the end of the day, really solid car list. I'm very happy with it, and of course customization is going to be as good as ever. And there's still the progression of the loot system, which is weird. I don't know if you noticed, if I've showed it in the gameplay yet, you automatically pick up the loot now. You don't have to drive forward into the loot every single time after every event. So that's a big plus. But yeah, it's the same idea of the loot. The loot has a rarity and has certain bonuses, stuff like that. I mean, so if you didn't like that in The Crew and The Crew 2, yeah, you're not going to like that here. But I don't really mind. I mean, that's something special to The Crew, so I'll take that. On that note, though, it does seem like it's going to be the same idea of like, this is a drift class vehicle, this is a drag class vehicle, and that just adds so much unnecessary grinding. Like, well, why can't I just buy one car and then make it into one of those class types, right? Like, I can choose to make it a drift or a drag. It doesn't come just like as a drift or a drag car, for example. So that, yeah, I mean, that's lame, but I guess like they want The Crew to be grindy, so this is probably the best way that they can do that. So the map is interesting. It's clearly better. Like, this is way more detailed. It's a lot more lush. Areas seem more well thought out, and there's still plenty of wide expanses, and the map is still relatively large. So I think it's still going to be a fun experience on the whole. But I do feel like it has lost its Crew 2 feel a little bit, just because, like, I get it. Not everyone was a fan of the huge map in The Crew, but come on, it was fun having such a big map, a big ridiculous map, and now that's just kind of gone. And we got a more high quality map, one that's more interactive. You got more destruction, you got better detailed cities and stuff like that. That's all great. I would like to have an enormous map to play around on, but I guess I have The Crew 2 for that if I ever want that. And this map seems more than large enough. It still seems larger than Forza Horizon 5's map, which is the most important thing to me. Just to make it be the biggest map available in the racing genre at the very moment, and that's enough for me. So it does seem like they're going even more in a Forza Horizon direction. You can tell with like the UI and stuff, with how colorful everything is, the way the UI is broken down. Even you saw it in like the main menu, how they have like the special events and everything is laid out like that. It's very Forza Horizon, and you even have a British lady who's your GPS now. I mean, I'm falling in love with her, but I mean, that is something that Forza Horizon's had for a very long time now. The generic British GPS lady, turn left. Know what I mean? That wasn't very helpful, but yeah, it just, I mean, they keep on plucking stuff from Forza Horizon. Yes, I know it's the absolute most popular game of its type, right? So yeah, you might want to emulate some stuff from that, but it just feels like, yeah, this is still lacking in personality for sure. And the same goes for, even though it's more polished this time around, those hand-holding missions and stuff like that where people are non-stop talking, that is also something that comes from Forza Horizon as well. So it's just like we're plucking more things from Forza Horizon and not really doing anything new to The Crew specifically. But at the end of the day, this still feels like The Crew, and I'm definitely looking forward to it, like 100%. Like, if I could just go back to The Crew 2 but have this handling model, I mean, I would replay the entire game over and do my, I don't know. Actually, let me check how many hours I have in The Crew. Okay, I have around 500 hours in The Crew 2. I would redo all of that if I had this handling model. That's how much better it is and how big a difference it makes. So to settle for the next best thing and just put 500 hours into Motorfest, which I will do happily, and I'm very glad that we're able to import all of our vehicles from the previous game. I mean, I think that's an amazing feature. I mean, they definitely understand how grindy the game is. They're like, you don't have to grind for these cars again, and thank you, Ubisoft, for that one. I did not, you know, at the end of the day, I just said I would grind all of them again. I don't want to grind all that again. So it's very helpful to have all those cars back, and I'm super excited to go through all the co-op stuff with my friends when they eventually get the game, because I mean, the crew is just the king of co-op. There's so many fun racing event types, and it just doesn't, Forza just doesn't compare when it comes to co-op. It just doesn't. The crew does that better, and the number one thing Forza had over the crew was a bigger car list and better driving mechanics. Now we have the better driving mechanics, and the car list is pretty much as good, if not better, because we have more funky, interesting, and most importantly, new cars. Forza Horizon's always been lacking new cars since both 4 and 5. They were both lacking the new cars. So, super excited for this. Although it does have to be said that it's not really a new game like the Crew was to the Crew 2 was to the Crew. This is definitely the Crew 2 plus. Basically, it's like a really big DLC to the Crew 2 is what this feels like. So maybe wait for a sale if you didn't love the Crew 2. But I mean, if you love the Crew 2, you're gonna love this game. I can already tell. That's all I have on this game for now. Thanks for watching.